Yes, good morning, children. Yeah, join the class fast. So far, it's indicating only 0 students. Okay, two students. Two students, 7th A and 7th B. Yeah, confirm whether the link is present there in your class or not. Sadhana Kumari, Shubham Kumar. Shubham, confirm whether the link is there in your class or not. Shubham, is it working properly? Shubham Kumar, then yeah. Okay. So we were discussing in the earlier class the bear story. We were discussing regarding the question answers. Okay, and some of the questions we already discussed. Now we will discuss the remaining questions. So we discussed where did the lady find the bear. We discussed it. The lady found the bear cub in the forest. The lady found the bear cub in the forest. It was half dead. We discussed it. The lady found the bear cub there in the forest. It was half dead. Then second part of the question, how did she bring it up? How did she bring it up? She brought it up on a bottle. Okay. So she brought it up on a bottle. Okay, so that is the answer. Then the bear grew up, but he was most amiable bear. The bear grew up. Yeah. We will discuss this, some of the remaining questions. Then we will switch over to fire, friend and foe. Fire, friend and foe. So you have that textbook also with you. We will discuss the remaining questions of the earlier lesson. Then we will switch over to honeycomb, lesson number 8, fire, friend and foe. Is it clear to you, children? Okay, so both the textbooks you should have with you. Both the textbooks. The bear grew up. He was a most amiable bear. Give 3 examples. This also we discussed. He was a most amiable bear. It means that amiable means so friendly. So it was a very friendly bear. And how we could say it? There are certain examples that the children used to play with it. The other animals used to play with it, and it has never harmed anyone. Okay. So all this indicate that it was a friendly bear. Then what did the bear eat? What did the bear eat? This also we discussed. That what did it eat? The bear ate bread, porridge, potatoes, cabbage, turnip and fruits. Okay, bread, porridge, potatoes, turnip. Okay, all this we already discussed that the bear ate these things. Okay, the bear ate bread, porridge, potatoes, cabbage, turnip and fruits. And what it liked the most? It liked the most apples. Okay, it was having a temptation. It was having temptation for apples. Okay, so that also we discussed. Then when was the bear tied up with a chain? When was it tied up with a chain? When its mistress used to visit her sister's house. When the bear's mistress used to visit her sister's house, on that day it was tied up with a chain. Why it was tied with a chain? Because it was not possible to take the bear with her. That's why the lady used to put it in chains. That also we discussed. Then what happened one Sunday when the lady was going to her sister's house? What happened one day when the lady was going to her sister's house one day? What did the lady do? What was the bear's reaction? So what happened on Sunday? What happened one Sunday when the lady was going to her sister's house? One Sunday when the lady was going to her sister's house, she saw the bear, they already tied the bear with chains there in the house. So she got angry that how the bear came there in the forest. Okay, and being angry, she hit the bear with the help of her parasol, with her umbrella. Okay, and due to this, the bear looked at her and then went back. This we discussed. Okay, then the next is, so what happened one Sunday? This is clear to you. Then why was the bear looking sorry for himself in the evening? Why the bear was looking sorry for himself in the evening? The bear was looking sorry for himself in the evening because throughout the day it was being tied with a chain. Throughout the day it was tied with a chain. It remained tied with a chain, and then when in the evening the mistress came, she started scolding. Okay, that's why. Why did the cook get angry with her mistress? The cook got angry because the bear remained throughout the day there in the house. It remained very disciplined. The bear remained throughout the day in the house. It remained very disciplined. But then also the mistress was scolding. Now for what purpose she was scolding? Without any reason. That's why the cook became angry. Okay. Now discuss the following topics in groups. Topics meant for discussion. Topics meant for group discussion. Most people keep. Yeah, these questions are asked for 5 marks, children. Sometimes these questions are asked for 5 marks, and how you have to answer these questions. You have to answer these questions as per your thinking. Okay, whether you consider these things right or wrong, what is your opinion? What is your opinion in this context? Okay, it is given most people keep dogs and cats as pets. Most people keep dogs and cats as pets. Can you think of some unusual pets that people keep? Okay, most people keep dogs and cats as pets. So this is one that very often you have found that things which people keep as pets. Yeah. So provide your answer. Yes, children, I am waiting for your response. I am waiting for your response. Provide your response there in the comment box. Yes. Yeah. I am waiting for your response. What are the other animals that people keep as pets? This is one regarding dogs and cats. Okay, what are the other that you have to write? So you think about it. Okay, so this is a short answer question only that you write. Then the second bear did not attack the lady because he was afraid of her. Do you agree? The second bear did not attack the lady because he was afraid of her. Do you agree? Yes. Your answer, please. The second bear did not attack the lady because he was afraid of her. The second bear did not attack the lady because he was afraid of her. Do you agree? Do you agree that the second bear was afraid of the lady? What do you say? What do you say? No. Tejas, you are saying no. The second bear was not afraid. Then why it had not attacked? Then why the second bear had not attacked? Yes. Yeah, then why it had not attacked? Yes. Aishwarya is saying yes. Yes. What about other students? The second bear was afraid of the lady or not? Yes, it was afraid. What about others? So we can say it like this, that yes, because the bear is so friendly, but that was friendly or amiable. That was the lady's beard, not that was found there in the forest. What the beard that was found in the forest, we can't say that it was friendly. We have no clue about that beard which was found there in the forest. You got my point? It was a friendly bear that is in reference to the bear that was there in the lady's house. But that which was found there in the forest, we can't say that it was a friendly bear. No such kind of reference is coming there in the story. So what we can say, yes, it was afraid. Yes, it was afraid of the lady. Now the question arises, why it was afraid from the lady? Because the lady was having an umbrella in her hand. The lady was having an umbrella in her hand, and she hit the bear with the help of that umbrella, and the bear's nose also got injured. The bear's nose also got injured. So yes, we can say that it was afraid, and being afraid, it went away. You got it? You understood it? Yes, the bear was afraid of the lady, and that's why it went from there. Because the lady was having an umbrella in her hand, and she hit the bear with the help of it, and due to it, the bear got injured also. So yes, we can say that bear was afraid that of the lady, and that's why it went away from there. You got it? So here the lesson comes to an end. Now we will start. Okay, so the question answers will you do there in the notebook? Yes, children, will you do the question answers there in the notebook? You do it. Okay, I will send you the PDF of question answers. I will send you do it on the basis of your understanding. I will also send you the PDF of exercise questions, the answers. Okay, so if you are not able to do, you do from there. Okay, question answers PDF also I will send it, or you do on the basis of understanding. Now we will switch over to the next lesson. Okay, fire, friend, and foe. Okay, so you bring the textbook. Yeah, you open the textbook, children. Yeah, the lesson we will start now is okay. So the next lesson, fire, friend, and foe. Fire, friend, and foe. Fire, friend, and foe. Okay. So two identities are attached with fire. Two identities. If you are not having your textbook, I am giving you 1 minute time. You bring that textbook also. Or otherwise you are having your bag with you. Okay, because that you are supposed to do. To sit with your bag so that you can take out your notebook, the textbook you desire. Okay, so shall we start it? Fire, friend, and foe. Fire, you know. So two identities are attached here with fire. One identity is this, that fire is our friend, and one identity is this, that it is our foe. Foe means it is our enemy. So from this lesson we will get an answer to this, that fire is what? Is it our friend or is it our enemy? Is fire our enemy or is it our friend? This answer we will get when we will read this lesson. Okay, children, so fire, friend, and foe. It's our friend, it's our foe. Okay, foe means enemy. So how it is our friend, how it is our enemy, that we will come to know when we will read the lesson. Is it clear to you, children? Is it clear to you? Okay. So this non-fictional piece of writing talks about fire, its causes, uses, and creeds. So this lesson is about what? It is not a fiction. It is not a story. It is a descriptive account. So it tells about fire. It tells about fire, its causes. What are the causes of fire? How fire takes place? How fire takes place? What are the causes for fire? Sir, network problem. But at my end there is no network problem and it is working perfectly okay. At my end it's working perfectly okay. So if some problem is there, that is there at your end only. So what is fire? What is fire? Fire is the result of a chemical reaction. Fire, what is fire? The lesson begins with what is fire. It begins with what? What is fire? Okay, first of all, I am telling you the summary of the lesson so that you can understand it. Okay, that what we are going to. Then we will proceed with every single line. Okay, first of all, you understand it that what the lesson is about. So the lesson begins with what? It begins with the question, what is fire? And the answer is, fire is the result of a chemical reaction. Fire is the result of a chemical reaction. Three things are needed to make a fire. How many things are needed to make a fire? What is the answer? It is the result of a chemical reaction. Okay, then three things are needed. Three things are needed to make a fire. Okay, how many things are needed to make a fire? What is the question? It begins with, the story begins with the question, what is fire? Okay, then what the answer is? It is the result of a chemical reaction. It is the result of a chemical reaction. Three things are needed. Three things are needed to make a fire. Okay. So what is fire? The answer is, fire is the result of a chemical reaction. Three things are needed to make a fire. How many things are needed to make a fire? These are fuel, oxygen, and heat. What are these things? These are fuel, oxygen. For making fire, one is fuel. You must have the fuel. Then what is the other thing? Oxygen. Oxygen should be there. And what is the other thing required? Heat. So what are the three things required for fire? What are the three things required for fire? These are fuel, oxygen, and heat. Fuel, oxygen, and heat. These are the things required to make fire. Fuel, oxygen, and heat. Okay. The lesson begins with what we are going to study in this particular lesson. Fire, friend, and foe. Foe means enemy. Fire is our friend. It is our foe. It depends upon us that what we turn it into. If we are making it a friend or we are making it a foe. That depends upon our handling of it. That depends upon our handling of it. How we are handling it. Okay, if we are handling it in a proper manner, then it is beneficial for us. If we are mishandling it, then it turns into an enemy. So that depends upon us. The question, what is fire? Fire, it is the result of a chemical reaction. It is the result of a chemical reaction. Three things are needed to make fire. These three things are fuel, oxygen, and heat. Okay. So most common fuels. Now, if we talk about the fuel, we have discussed what is required. Fuel, oxygen is required, heat is required. Now what you have written? What you have written? You should not write this. Okay. And Rajab Khan in Hindi. Rajab, don't ask this. Okay. If you have any problem, you directly ask to the teacher. Okay. So these are fuel, oxygen, and heat. Most common fuels are. Now, what are the most common fuels? Wood, coal, cooking gas, and petrol. What are the most common fuels? Wood, coal, cooking gas, and petrol. Most common fuels are wood, coal, cooking gas, and petrol. Okay. Most common fuels are wood, coal, cooking gas, and petrol. These are the most common fuels. These are the most common fuels: wood, coal, cooking gas, and petrol. So, what is required? First of all, fuel is required. Now, what are the most common fuels? Wood, coal, cooking gas, and petrol. So, these are the most common fuels. Okay. Then the next is, children, the air naturally comes oxygen. Air remains available, so that is oxygen. Okay. And fuel cannot make fire by themselves. Now, fuel cannot make fire by themselves. What is required for fuel to make a fire? Fuel remains there, but with the help of what? What is required? Heat is also important for it to start. Heat is required. Okay, heat is required. So, if fuel is there, presence of oxygen is there, then what is required? Heat is required. And if heat will be there, then heat is also important for it to start. The temperature at which, okay, so these are the things. Fuel is required, oxygen is required, heat is required. What are the common fuels? Okay, but fuel itself will not burn. Heat is required. In the presence of oxygen, it will burn. Okay. Now, the temperature at which a fuel begins to burn is called the flash point of that fuel. What is a flash point? What is a flash point? What is a flash point? Okay. Flash point. What is a flash point? What is a flash point? What is a flash point? A flash point is a temperature. The temperature at which a fuel starts burning is the flash point. Okay. The temperature at which a fuel begins to burn is called flash point. The temperature at which a fuel begins to burn is called the flash point of that fuel, okay, or the kindling temperature. So, the temperature at which a fuel burns, okay, the temperature at which a fuel begins to burn is termed as the flash point of that fuel. We generally give heat to a fuel with a lighted match. We give heat to a fuel with what? With a lighted match. That generally we do in our day-to-day uses. Okay, so this much you understood. This much you understood. The lesson's title is Fire, Friend, and Foe. Okay, then what is fire? Then what is fire? This. No need to write this. I am making you understand the lesson. Okay, so that you can understand it. Okay, so this is everything there in your book, you will find it. Okay, so the temperature at which, yeah, let's start. So, fire is a good servant. Fire is a good servant, but a bad master. It is a good servant, but a bad master. It is used for cooking food. Now, for what purpose fire is used? For what purpose fire is used? It is used for cooking food. Okay, then for room, it is required to cook our food, and to generate electricity. It is required to generate electricity. So if fire gets out of control, it can be very dangerous. But when fire becomes very dangerous, when it becomes out of control, when it gets out of control, then it becomes very difficult. At that time, we can say it turned into a foe. Okay, so we have to in vast forest. If it turns out of control, then at that time it may burn houses, big factories, and many other things. So we have to put it under control. The fire is to be put under control. There are three main ways to put out a fire. What are the three main ways to put out a fire? Everyone should know what are the main ways to put out a fire, because if you will know that, then you will be in a position to control fire. And if you will do that, then you will help the society in large. So there are three main ways to put a control on fire. What are the three main ways? First of all, removal of the fuel. You remove the fuel. What are the main ways to control fire? Removal of the fuel. You remove the fuel, first one. Then cutting of oxygen supply. You cut off the oxygen supply. Oxygen is required to make fire. You cut off the oxygen supply. Fuel is required for fire. You remove the fuel, and then bringing the temperature down. You bring the temperature down. Okay, so spraying water is a common way of extinguishing fire. We have seen that when fire takes place, then what happens? We spray water. That is the common way. But it is not good way of putting out an oily fire and a fire out of electricity. If a fire is there due to if an electric fire is there, a fire due to oil is there, then at that time it is not that much helpful. Which fires water is not that much helpful to control? In which fire water is not that much helpful to control? If a fire is there due to electricity, or if a fire is there due to oil, then in those fires water is not that much helpful. Generally we use water, but in a fire due to electricity and a fire due to oil, water is not that much helpful. Why it is not helpful? Electricity, you know that what will happen. Okay, then oil is lighter than water, as a result of which it floats on water. Oil is lighter than water. So when we will spray water, then it will float on water, and when it will float on water, it will catches more fire. If it catches fire, water helps to spread the fire. So in that case, what will water do? It will help to spread the fire. Okay, electric fire gives shocks, okay, to the person who tries to spray water on it. So you have understood that where water is not helpful. In the fires which are out of electricity or oil, there spraying water is not helpful. If a fire is there due to oil, then what will happen? When you will spray water on it, the water will float on it, and it will add to the intensity of the fire. And if it is due to electricity, then the person who is spraying water, that person can get a shock due to it. Okay, so in olden times, when there was no concept of fireman, people used to form a human chain. Then they used to provide buckets of water. Okay, and then they used to control fire. So it was how they used to do that. Okay, so in this particular lesson, children, we are going to study this fire, friend and foe. What is fire? Okay, what are the things required for making a fire? What are the common fuels? How fire is helpful to us? Okay, then when fire turns out into a foe, okay, then how we can control fire? For this we are going to study in this lesson. So now we will proceed with the textbook. textbook. Okay, so you open your textbook at page number 114. Page number 114. Page number 114. What is the page number 114? Okay, now we will proceed line to line what is there in the textbook. I have provided you introduction to the lesson, that what we are going to study in this particular lesson, and I hope you have understood the gist of the lesson, that what is given there in this lesson. Okay, you have understood the gist of the lesson. So now we will discuss every single line, we will discuss the lesson in detail, and you will understand the things in a much better way. Okay, so before you read what it is given, fire is both useful and dangerous. It is both useful and dangerous. It is useful to us, it is also dangerous. What is a fire? You got the answer. We discussed it in there in the summary. What is a fire? Okay, so what is a fire? It is a result of a chemical reaction. The fire is the result of a chemical reaction. Three things are needed to make a fire. These are fuel, oxygen, and heat. This you have understood. Okay. Then how did we discover it? How do we control it? How do we control it? That also. Okay. If we remain very much cautious about it, if we handle it with care, then very easily we can control it. So fire, friend and foe. You understood what is the meaning of foe? That is enemy. So the lesson, early man didn't know what fire was. But he must have seen the damage it could cause. Early man, he didn't know what fire was, but he have seen the damage it could cause, what damages it could cause. He must have watched lightning and volcanoes long before he began to use fire himself. Before he started using fire for himself, he might have seen lightning, he might have seen volcanic eruption. Okay, fire was powerful and dangerous. And he was frightened. Fire was powerful and dangerous, and the early man was frightened. He was afraid of it. So fire may have puzzled early man, but we now know that fire is the result of a chemical reaction. It might have puzzled the early man that what causes fire. Now we have understood what causes fire. Fire is the result of a chemical reaction, and three things are required for it. What are the three things? Fuel is required, oxygen is required, okay, heat is required. But early man was not having this knowledge, and that's why he was very much puzzled about it. Fire may have puzzled early man, but we now know that fire is the result of a chemical reaction where the oxygen in the air combines with carbon and hydrogen in fuel. So when the oxygen in the air combines with carbon and hydrogen in a fuel, a chemical reaction takes place. When the chemical reaction takes place, when the oxygen in the air combines with carbon and hydrogen. Then a chemical reaction takes place, and as a result of that, fire also takes place. Now, energy in the form of heat and light is released in this process. When this process takes place, energy is released, and this is what we call fire. So, this is how fire takes place. Okay. Three things are needed to make fire. What these things are? These are fuel, oxygen, and heat. This already we have discussed. What are the three things that are required to make fire? We have discussed here that fuel is required, oxygen is required, and heat is required. Okay. So will you remember this? What are the three things which are required to make fire? What are these things? Fuel is required, oxygen is required, and heat is required. Is it clear to you? Okay. So three things are needed to make fire: fuel, oxygen, and heat. Now, what are the common fuels? Which Coal, cooking gas, and petrol are some of the examples of fuels. This also we have discussed that what are the common fuels: wood, coal, cooking gas, petrol. Okay, most common fuels are wood, coal, cooking gas, and petrol. These are the fuels which are required to make fire. These are the most common fuels. Okay. Oxygen comes from the air. Oxygen comes from the air, and that is why when you blow on smoldering paper. Smoldering paper, what is the meaning of smoldering paper? Burning slowly without flame. Okay. So that is why when you blow on smoldering paper, it often bursts into flame. Okay. The third thing needed to make fire is heat. So you understood what are the three things required? Sir, today is MCQ test or not? No, today MCQ test is not there. It will be informed to you children by the exam section. So you need not to worry. They will inform you. Okay. The third thing needed to make fire is heat. Fuel and oxygen do not make fire by themselves. They do not make fire by themselves, or else a newspaper or stick lying in the open would catch fire. Okay, see, this is a fuel. This is a fuel. These wooden chairs, they are the fuel. This paper is a fuel, but fuel itself doesn't turn into fire. It requires something, and what is that? Heat. Okay, so fuel and oxygen do not make fire by themselves, or else a newspaper or a stick lying in the open would catch fire on its own. Okay, to burn a piece of paper or wood, we heat it before it catches fire. We heat it, and then only it catches fire. We generally do it with a lighted match, and with what we do it with a lighted match. Every fuel has a particular temperature at which it begins to burn. For every fuel, there is a particular temperature, and at that particular temperature, it begins to burn. For every fuel, there is a particular temperature, and at that it begins to burn. And what that temperature is termed as? That temperature is termed as a flash point. What that is termed as? That is termed as flash point. Okay, so every fuel has a particular temperature at which it begins to burn. This temperature is the flash point, or that kindling temperature of that fuel. What it is? It is the kindling temperature of that fuel. It is the kindling temperature of that fuel. So you understood what is the kindling temperature? Kindling temperature. Okay. Kindling temperature. It is the kindling temperature. So kindling temperature and flash point. Kindling temperature and flash point, they are the same. Kindling temperature and flash point, they are the same. Okay. Every fuel has a particular temperature. Every fuel has a particular temperature at which it begins to burn. That is termed as kindling temperature or flash point. Sometimes these questions are asked, therefore 1 mark questions. Okay, so these details you should know well. Every single line of the lesson remains very important for you, and you should understand that well, and you should remember that well. And when you will do it, you will keep on studying regularly. Okay, because we can remember things for a particular time only. So now what to do for having a long lasting memory? Keep on revising your concept, keep on revising, keep on learning, and when you will do it, then you will remember it. Otherwise, what will happen? After some time you will forget it. Okay, so you should plan your studies in such a manner that you keep on repeating and revising them. Okay, it is sometimes said that fire is a good servant but a bad master. fire is a good servant but a bad master, it only means that fire is very useful as long as it is under control. So fire is useful as long as it is under control. As long as you are putting it under control, it is very good and it is useful for the human race. But what will happen if we will not put it under control? Then it will turn into disastrous. And it will cause devastation. It will cause large scale destruction. So you have to be very vigilant while handling fire. You have to be very cautious while handling fire, and you have to handle it with care. Okay, children. Otherwise, the results are devastating. So, it is sometimes said that fire is a good servant but a bad master. It only means that fire is very useful as long as it is kept under control. For instance means example. For example, we use it to cook or food, warm our houses in winter, and to generate electricity. For what purposes we use it? We use it to cook our food, to warm our houses, and to generate electricity. What are its uses? You underline it, you remember it. Okay, we use it to cook our food, warm our homes, and generate electricity. But on the other hand, if fire gets out of control, it can be very dangerous. If it gets out of control, it could be very dangerous. Each year, thousands of homes and shops are damaged. Thousands of homes and shops are damaged by fire. Vast areas of forest are also destroyed due to fire, and hundreds of people are killed and injured due to fire. You might have studied there. You might see there in the news, read there in the newspaper headlines. A fire mishap took place, or they see there in the news headlines. Okay, so fire incidents, very often we see the fire incidents, and how these fire incidents take place due to mishandling. So we should not mishandle the fire. We should be very cautious while using it. And if we will do that, then we will be able to safeguard ourselves and many others. So we should be very cautious while handling fire. Just as the three things are needed to start a fire, there are three main ways in which a fire can be put out. Three things are required to start fire, and three things are required to put out fire. In each one of three things needed for burning is taken away. And what is done? All the things which are required for starting fire, they are to be taken away. For example, this is the last thing we are discussing. Then here this period comes to an end. So, for example, we can take away the fuel. You take away the fuel. If the fire has no fuel to feed on, no burning can take place. If fuel will not be there, no burning will take place. Okay, we often set a fire die out simply by not adding more fuel. So we see that a fire dies out when there is no more fuel. Then the second way of putting out fire is to prevent oxygen. You prevent the oxygen supply. Okay, and what is the third way? The third way of putting out a fire is to remove the heat. You remove the heat. Okay, so you understood it or not? This is the final note for today, that how we can control the fire. All those things which are required to make fire, we have to take them away. What the things which are required to make fire, we have to take those things away. For example, what is required to make fire? Fuel is required to make fire. So we should take the fuel away. Then what is required to take? What is required for fire to take place? Oxygen is required. So you cut off the supply of oxygen. And what is the third thing required? Heat is required. So you cut off the heat supply. And when we will do all these three things, then fire will not take place. So what are the three things which are required? The same three things you have to place away, and when these things will be cut off, the supply of these things will be cut off, then fire will not take place. So children, this is about today. We will discuss the remaining things there in still the bail has not been given. Okay, so regarding MCQ, I have already told to you, and the date will be intimated by the exam section. So accordingly, what you have to do, only one lesson and one this. What are the lessons that I have given? So you prepare that well. Okay. Then regarding this question answers, sir, how the fire take place in forest automatically? Okay, the fire takes place. Sometimes the human involvement remains there. Human involvement remains there, and it remains human negligence that some of the people they put heat there. You know? So due to that human negligence, that sometimes any party is conducted, so that fire is not put off properly. Sometimes this match they left there, due to that it may take place. And sometimes when the trees they rub the dry wood that rub with each other, then due to also the fire may take place. Okay, so this we will discuss there in the next class. Sir, hertz is a disturbing. Okay. So here the class comes to an end. Bell has been given for this period. Okay. So keep on preparing well. Keep on learning well. Okay. Thank you, children. Here the class comes to an end. You do the exercise questions that of the bear story there in your notebook. Okay, I am sending you the PDF of exercise questions, and you do it there in your notebook. Your work should be done. Your work should be done in time. Okay, so thank you, children.